Let's take a look at the Ford big board. Built for America, built Ford proud. Jerod Mayo continuing his search for an offensive coordinator. Yesterday, Mayo interviewing Rams tight ends coach Nick Caley. Today, Mayo expected to meet with Rams passing game coordinator Zach Robinson and Bengals quarterbacks coach Dan Pitcher. Pitcher, the newest name to emerge. He has a virtual interview with the Pats today and then flies to Las Vegas to meet with the Raiders. He'll also meet with the Saints on Thursday. Pitcher has worked with Joe Burrow in Cincy and could replace Brian Callahan as the Bengals offensive coordinator. Callahan was named the Titans' new head coach yesterday. So this is where we begin our deep dive as we welcome Tommy Giles into the group. You want Dan Pitcher? Like, is he up there with of Dan Pitcher, Zach Robinson, Nick Caley? Where does he fall in like that order, that pecking order?
He's maybe second, but probably third at this point. I still got Zach Robinson at the top for all the years that he spent in Los Angeles with that Rams system.
What about developing Joe Burrow, though?
Yes. And if you're planning on drafting the closest thing to Joe Burrow, whoever that would be in this draft, then you could probably convince me. But if you're Dan Pitcher, I think that the natural thing seems to be that he would want to stay with Cincinnati, I would think. So he's either 2 or 3 to me. I do like the fact that you're getting an outside perspective, though, and I understand that Nick Caley left for a year, but still seems like there's a much more of the New England background.
And that's what I was going to say, Jared. Like, fair, unfair, I still go Robinson, Pitcher, then Caley, just for the simple again, fair, unfair. I just want to get away from the way that they used to do things, and I'm not sure 1 year in LA is enough.
Yeah, I don't think it is either. And I think he's a really good coach. And I think he's a coach that probably should have been, as we talked about a couple of years ago, he should have been the offensive coordinator to begin with. Instead, they went with Patricia and Judge. We know how that turned out. He leaves for Los Angeles. Done a great job over there. They love the work he's done. Young tight end, 5th-round kid out of Clemson. They think he's going to be a star. They attribute some of that to Caley and some of the work that he's done there so he can develop players. He's super enthusiastic. But, again, just 1 year with Sean McVay. And if you're going to get rid of the Perkins-Earhart system, I don't think 1 year in L.A. gives him the sort of knowledge to be able to make that move. The Pitcher thing is interesting to me because he doesn't call plays in Cincinnati. Callahan didn't call plays, didn't hurt him. He's getting his head coaching job with the Titans. Hasn't called him there, so he's taking interviews. And I wonder if, hey, like, I want to do this. I don't want to be just the guy that designs the entire offense, does the third down stuff, which is what he does in Cincinnati. I want to be the one who on game day is calling all the plays, and that's what Zach Taylor does in Cincinnati.
Yeah, it's something that the Patriots would be able to offer that maybe the Bengals wouldn't be willing to. I look at the play caller thing, and I wonder, if Robinson or Caley is ready for that too. Neither of those guys have done it either. So there's some serious questions with all of these guys. And in terms of Robinson versus Caley, I find that to be a fascinating discussion because even though Robinson has spent more time with McVay, he has spent less time as a coach. So Nick Caley has done the game planning thing. He's game planned red zone offense alongside Josh McDaniels for years. He has been in the McVay system for 1 year. I don't know if the length of time matters as much to me because McVay will admit one of the foundations.
There you go.
Pillars. Let's go with pillars of his offense is the illusion of complexity. Mm-hmm. So he'll tell you what we run is actually pretty simple. It's a handful of concepts that are just dressed up in some different ways with some different motions. I think Caley would be able to bring that here. It's just a question of the players. They don't have the players. In all likelihood, no matter who you get, it's not going to look great year one.
Right, they don't have the players, and they also have opportunities elsewhere. And I know that Jerod Mayo has said, we're going to take our time. This is an evaluation period. Do they have time for an evaluation period when it seems like your top 2 candidates are interviewing in person other places? Like, is there enough urgency around filling this position?
I think there should be more. I am always a proponent of more urgency when it comes to just about anything with this football team because it's felt like there's just been a complete lack of that word when it comes to all aspects of the operation over the course of the last few years, although they hired their head coach faster than anybody else, so good on them for that. But you'd hate to see Zach Robinson go somewhere else because you were just waiting to get him into town, and he's on the West Coast, and he hit a couple other teams before he was scheduled to get to you, and now all of a sudden you're down to 2 options at coordinator, and maybe your top guy's gone.
Yeah, because then it ends up being like whoever falls to you, that's who you end up having is your offensive
Well, they already
coordinator.
lost one. The former OC for the Seahawks ended up signing with the Bears.
Yeah, as for defensive coordinator, defensive line coach DeMarcus Covington has emerged as a strong favorite, according to SI's Albert Breer. Mike Giardi also chiming in on Boston Sports Journal today, calling it an upset if Covington doesn't get the job. Why would it be an upset if he doesn't get the job?
I think this has been part of the plan. I think he's one of Gerod's guys. I think, and for good reason. I think he's a terrific coach. He was a DC in college for a year. They bring the New Orleans guy up for an interview. They were co-DCs at Eastern Kentucky?
Eastern Illinois.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Eastern Illinois.
Jimmy Garoppolo, you.
Yeah.
Remember him?
You should be all over that.
The whole Garoppolo train has gone in the wrong direction the last year or two. It just makes a lot of sense. I think he shares the vision for what they want to do. And when you look at their team and you say, position by position, who did better than anybody else? The defensive line probably has been their best position the last couple of years. He's a smart guy. He's going to be a head coach one day. I think it's the vision is here, and what you're seeing now is you're bringing in other assistants to talk to them to see if they fit on the coaching staff.
I think Covington's a great fit. I spoke to a fellow NFL defensive assistant who worked with Covington at the Senior Bowl last year. He said, usually defensive line coaches are really focused and zeroed in on what happens at the line of scrimmage, but Covington has a great understanding of what happens at the linebacker level, in the secondary. He communicates really well. You get down to the Senior Bowl, you don't know any of the players, obviously. You don't really know any of the coaches because it's these hodgepodge staffs that they put together. He's got great people skills. His ability to communicate really stood out, and in front of the room, which I think is key. That's Mayo's strength, right? If he's not going to be doing that anymore as defensive coordinator, your presence, your energy at the front of the room has to be solid, and Covington's was down in the Senior Bowl. It's my understanding.